then military government of General Ibrahim Babangida on policy direction for the nation. And thus, the Nigerian Economic Summit was born, founded in 1993 and held on the 18th and 20th of February that year. It was later incorporated in 1996.
NESG was a child of circumstance. Circumstance in the sense that we had a military regime. The style of management is a unitary, from top down. And at that particular point in time, both the private sector and the public sector all believed in the public management of economic affairs.
And so by the early 1990s, we were dealing with almost complete state capture by military rule. Nigeria was also short out of many global cooperation frameworks, so we were isolated as a state, and the economy was closed. It was in that context that a group of concerned business professionals and industry leaders got together and started to discuss a need to engage the government of the day on the future of the economy.
As technology, economic growth, multiculturalism, globalization, and IT began to advance across the world, and nations began to consolidate economic and political power, the NESG realized that Nigeria could not afford to be left behind. And so, on the 30th of September 1997, Nigeria's Vision 2010 Committee, chaired by the former head of the nation's interim government, Chief Ernest Shonekan, presented its report to the then head of state, General Sani Abacha.
The NESG pioneered the concept of visioning. And back in 95, within our first 3 years, I think we had Vision 2010.
During this phase, the Nigerian Economic Summit, NES, made notable impact by establishing global benchmarking discipline as the premise for national economic scorecard measurements, reviews, and assessments. This was part of the efforts to set the agenda for the modern Nigerian economy. This era, the early opening up phase of the economy, heralded commercialization, liberalization, and privatization policy reforms.
See, NESG's, should I say the philosophy or the concept we adopted universally also influenced subsequent regulations and legislation. But they did so in a manner that was almost difficult to discern. I give an example. There are several laws that came out: Pension Reform Act, Central Bank Autonomy. Some of the principles that governed these statutes were laid down, at least in discussions of past economic summits.
Deregulation, opening up our country, and bringing a more understanding between the public and private sector became the hallmark. And most of the institutions you see today, EFCC, ICPC, Nigerian Regulatory Due Process Offices, these things, most of them were instituted because of our recommendation. If you go back,
you have to go and queue at NITEL if you want to make international calls. Now you can do from the convenience of your home, anywhere. That's opening up. So that private-public partnership enabled it because we forced governments to privatize NITEL, and a new telephony system emerged.
The Nigerian Economic Summit drove reform legislations in key reforming sectors like power sector, with the National Electric Power Authority, NEPA, renamed Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN, and broken up into 18 companies that involve the private sector in the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. 2. The creation of the Ministry of Communication Technology. 3. The strategic concession, commercialization, and privatization of Nigeria's seaports, amongst other sector reforms.
People are sitting in Nigeria Investment Promotion Council today, which was conceived as a one-stop shop for investors in Nigeria. That was not only the NESG proposal or recommendation. The NESG actually set up the committee that drafted the legislation, and I was a member of that committee, what you have as today's Nigeria Investment Promotion Act. It's verbatim, a draft from NESG.
You know, we have done Vision 2010. Then, because of the transition of the president, there was a discontinuation. It was in 2010 when Mr. Jonathan was now in office that focus on rebatting the vision and creating a longer-term vision for 2020 got greater attraction.
As the Vision 2020 ended in 2020, we supported the government in creating a new Vision 2050 agenda and a medium-term development plan 2021 to 2025. So NESG has played an important role in catalyzing the ideas that inform our agenda, and by holding a scorecard up to show where we are.
As it marks its 30th year anniversary, the Nigerian Economic Summit will continue to push the boundaries of impact-driven, evidence-based policy reforms and implementation across all the sectors, establishing clear reform priorities for the Nigerian economy. And with the help of dedicated, patriotic, private and public sector professionals, its vision of becoming Africa's leading private sector think tank, committed to the development of a modern, globally competitive, and inclusive Nigerian economy, is beginning to align with the desires of every Nigerian for a better, fulfilling, productive, and prosperous life now and in the future.
We would also like to get some remarks from the CEO of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Dr. Tayo Adeloju. He'll be speaking as well.
Opportunity to experience dialogues and bonding. Hi everyone, we are inviting you to the Nigerian Hamilton Project, which is a powerful opportunity to experience dialogues and bonding platforms that are focused on expert-led bodies of work inspired by expert-led panels and discussions and audience interactions across the geopolitical zones of Nigeria to drive real change. The Hamilton projects are designed based on the Alexander Hamilton National Dialogue Framework, which seeks to mobilize citizens and experts to discuss developmental issues that are transformative in nature. The very structure of the dialogues means that we will not be having it in our traditional locations at the NESG, Lagos or Abuja. We'll be out in the regions of Nigeria, in your cities, Port Harcourt, ENUGU, Kaduna, and other cities across the country, discussing with you where you are in the regions and in the subnational locations, and debating development matters that make a difference. In this first installment, led by Professor Osita Obo, around his body of work, Development as an Attitude, we will be exploring leadership philosophy and how it inspires values, principles, practices, and consensus, both for citizens and leaders, both in the public, private sector, and civil society, and how is a necessary ingredient in pursuing Nigeria's own economic, social transformation and national development objectives. The sessions hope to inspire policy recommendations, academic integration, participant engagement in your local subnational area, and media engagements, all targeted at generating cutting-edge new ideas and consensus, expanding bodies of knowledge needed to mobilize citizens and policymakers to pursue ambitious, courageous, and daring developmental mandates that shifts us radically from being an underdeveloped, developing country into developed and advanced country status in the shortest possible time. These daring, bold ideas that will come from these burning platforms will challenge local, state, regional, and national leaders to dare the impossible as we build together a peaceful, productive, prosperous, digitally, technology-enabled industrial Nigeria and Africa, and the country and society of our dreams. So join us in one of the locations close to you as we discuss in this series, Development as an Attitude.
Stage, our able author, Professor Osita Ogo, and Mr. Nana Ode for the fireside chat. Thank you.
Of the University of Nigeria, particularly the Institute for Development Studies that are our partners. I also want to specially thank members of the press, especially Afia TV, Signature TV.